It's the Daily Doug.
Hi.
Hi there.
How
It's good to see
are
y'all. Thanks for joining me.
Man, thanks for having us. Well, I can't believe it. All of a sudden, turn around, couple emails, and here you are in the flesh with no whiskey, no less.
Just water for right now. I'll save the whiskey for later. Well, thank you all for joining me.
Don't abstain on our account.
That's right.
Yeah, well, that'll
5 o'clock somewhere.
for sure, for sure. Actually, y'all live in California. I've had some herbs, so I'm fine.
There you go.
Ah,
There
fascinating.
you
You say
go.
y'all a lot. Where are you?
My family is from the South. I was born in Houston. I grew up in Arkansas, and I call Omaha actually my hometown, Nebraska.
Very well.
I lived in Nebraska until I finished college, and then moved to the East Coast, did my master's, moved back to the Midwest to do my doctorate, and then my wife and I have been back in New Jersey since '09.
I don't know if I would call Omaha the South, but I would call it South behaving.
For sure. South adjacent enough.
Ah,
It's not, you can't call it hillbilly because there's not
Oh,
many hills. You just call it
yeah.
prairie billy. I don't know.
Prairie Billy. I liked Prairie Billy.
So this is one of these interesting things. I actually wasn't at the event. I couldn't be there when my community members had the event to share your album. So what we do on my Patreon, we have a Discord server, which is we use for private social media, where we get together and we talk about what's going on my channel or in the music world. And we have a music club, and it's just like a book club. People make, uh,
Except for not
you
as
know,
long.
yeah, it's we've and so one of our guys got a hold of the album and really liked it and said, "Not many of y'all, I think, know about this. We need to chat about it." So they did a whole presentation of your album
Unbelievable.
with the lyrics and everything.
What?
And
Lyrics and what? I can't believe that. That's
in
amazing.
isn't that cool? And and then a few months later, that happened, I think, this past summer. And then just a few months later, somebody who was new to the server was going through and went, I know those people. And then he wrote to y'all. I think his name is Wayne.
Well, our friend Jess is the one who told me
Jess.
about it, and I
Okay.
think he was actually there in the group when it was discussed. I'm
Right.
pretty sure. So maybe there's another person.
There's a couple.
You know, what's so great about prog music and prog fans? It's a small demographic, but boy, they're so into it and share and love and know. Yeah, exactly. All the circles kind of intersect, and so many people know each other and share their new discoveries. I mean, we're so fortunate because, we don't have a record label or
Hmm.
any of that stuff. And this particular record of
do
ours, it's our most
we
successful
just sit
record.
in here and do it?
Yeah,
Just
it's
do
all
it,
word of
man.
mouth.
Is
Yeah.
this the room where it happened?
This is the room
Yeah.
where it happened.
Yeah. Awesome.
During lockdown, man, we had nothing else to do.
Yeah. So during lockdown is when I started doing this channel.
Mhm.
Amazing.
So that was a turning point for a lot of people. When we get time
Yeah.
away from all of the stuff that we had been filling our days with, it's like, what do I want to do? I might not be here tomorrow. What do I want to do? Let's
Mhm.
so I lost my gig. I lost my teaching gig at the college. And
Yeah.
so I was like, no college is hiring right now. I don't really know what I'm going to do. And we ended up starting this vlog while I was looking for a job, and I started doing music reactions, and people started watching them, and so I kept doing them, and then over time we built a business model.
Yeah, your
So
channel and your socials are just crazy. People are into it. It's so cool.
it's really a lot of fun, and what I get to do is almost ad lib or riff music appreciation or theory 1, theory 2 level
Mhm.
lectures as I'm hearing the stuff, most of it for the first time. Because
It was it was certainly entertaining to watch you do Close to the Edge.
Yeah, it was
I
great.
mean, yeah, I
Yeah,
see it
there
up
it is.
it's on my
there.
wall of fame back there.
Can't miss it. But to I'd heard it dozens, scores of times by the time at that point, and to watch you go through it for the first time and watch you start pulling, chord changes out of the air and try to say, but I'm surprised actually that you missed that first time in the opening section that the B3 is doing the bass line twice as fast, 2 octaves up, 3 octaves.
Oh,
Have you never noticed that?
I haven't listened to it enough, or more recently. That's
Yeah,
astute.
and above that, Wakeman's going.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
Right.
And so in your first pass, you were kind of, and rightly so, reacting to kind of the cacophony of all those things happening at once, but they weren't random at
Yeah, it's
all.
a very angular
Which to me they
section
were.
for sure.
I don't know.
Mhm.
Guys, like, no, that's not random, honey.
But it really is just D minor to A7. That's all it is.
Sure. And you can do pretty much anything over a static chord or a couple of chords, and then once you get it settled, sky's the limit. Y'all know. So I'm excited. We're going to talk a little bit. I want to talk about your album Cosmologica, and we're going to talk about a couple other things as we go. So that's the main thing that I wanted to check in with you about, because this album Cosmologica, you released it in November of 2021, and I love correct me if I'm wrong, is it Circe? Is that
Sure, that works.
Circe, like
Circe,
yes,
okay.
I see. Yeah.
Got it. So your description that prog rock is just classical music using rock instruments.
Yep.
That's pretty profound to me. I've thought about that in the past. How did you come up with that, or expound upon that thought?
I don't know. It just seems so evident.
Sure.
I love classical music. I can't say I'm steeped enough in it to be able to call out a number of composers
Or pieces or whatever.
Pieces, yeah. But I've always loved it, and I've always loved prog music. So I forget how we got on the description. Maybe I was telling my mother what it was, because our early music is so.
What's prog, honey?
Yeah, okay, side story.
Okay, here we
Okay.
Here we go. Really good side story. So Christian and I are dating early on. We've just had our first weekend out of town. We're driving home. We get a call from his best friend, Michael Sherwood, who's on the record. And
Okay.
he says, "Hey man, Prog Fest. Do you wanna meet us there? I'll get some tickets." So Christian looks at me on the phone. Sure. Okay, cool. We
Sure.
drive straight from the hotel. We go to the Prog Fest. We get there, and I'm like, "Where's the puppets? Where are the pretzels? Where are the paintings by Mucha? What is this giant place that is full of nothing but dudes? It's all dudes.
It's
There's
not-
no line in the
Not
ladies' room."
AGUE, man. It's not.
I thought it was Prague.
I went. I think the first time that I ever went to a prog rock show, it was a G3 show. It was a whole bunch of guitars, and I've never seen so many white guys in black t-shirts
Oh man.
in my life.
Well, I mean, the happiest thing about that show was that there was no line at the bathroom for
None.
her.
The first concert I ever went to where there was no line, and there was a line for the men's. Just
Right. As a matter of fact, it happened to be that they were doing Shaming of the True tribute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Incredible.
and our friend Mark McCrite was in the Suit Fugue chorus, and
Stunning.
and Nick DiVirgilio.
I talked with Nick last week.
Yeah,
Oh, no way.
he was singing lead on that.
Yeah.
And played. I can't remember if he played drums, but it was fantastic. I mean, they nailed the whole thing.
Yeah.
It was really good.
So anyway, I think I might have been describing to my mom what prog was, because our early music, or my early music, was way more, I called it cowboy jazz, a la Dan Hicks, that sort of, music level wise, interesting, different, strange.
Yeah. Cowboy jazz, is that country music with a little more secondary dominance in there?
Yeah, well, more major sevens.
More
Yeah.
major sevenths. I got it.
A lot
Yeah.
of swinging and a lot of major sevens, and the instrumentation not being electric at all.
Okay.
So when we started
Yeah.
getting into electronic music, we kind of went through Americana and Southern Fried Rock, and then we did a concept record that was kind of along the lines of more like Harry Nilsson
Okay.
and Queen-ish.
Yeah.
And then by the time the lockdown came, we had always talked about doing a prog record. We actually had the one song, Cosmologica, was done. It was in the can, had been sitting there forever, and we thought, it's time. Let's just build a
Sure.
whole record around it.
Yeah,
So
I started.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No,
No,
you go ahead.
I
No, you-
read about how you had this track. How long have you had it? When
It
did
was
you write it?
sitting there for 8-10 years, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just sitting there. I did it as an exercise, which I do a lot. I just actually the working title was Southern Wondrous, as in Wondrous Stories and South Side of the Sky.
Okay.
And that was kind of the impetus of that piece. And I just said, okay, let's just make something completely, as prog as I can get it. And to expand on the classical music with rock instruments, I think
Sure.
that's also profound, because in classical there are rules, but you can blow them all up. You know what I mean? You can just you don't have to adhere to tempo. You don't have to adhere to key.
Oh, sure.
You don't have to adhere to a certain instrumentation or arrangement. You can try anything. Anything
Right.
is possible. And you can shift again from key signature and time signature and tempo at a moment's notice at any time that you like, and it happens all over classical music. And so to do that within more of a rock construct, and having those rock sensibilities with big drums and powerful bass and rock guitars and roaring B3, it's a great way to go about it. And I also if you've noticed with the record, there's lots of walls of Circe, lots of stacks of Circe background vocals,
Overdubs, yeah.
overdubs, tons of. Well, she sings. It's all overdubs because we're the only two people who made the record. I played all the music, she sang all the vocals.
It's
and
amazing. It
Well,
really.
Michael Sherwood is on there.
I love. I've listened to it, and I really do enjoy it. Let me ask you this: if you're tracking everything yourself, what do you start with?
It depends on the kernel, the seed. Actually, let me see that right there.
That little
yeah.
guy.
Those guys
Those two guys, they
they're
changed
called,
our lives.
they're griffins. They're they're actually a high-tuned 12-string guitar.
A high-tuned 12-string guitar.
Oh man, that sounds
And
great.
it's actually tuned D to D.
Okay.
And like the opening, that's the opening of the record. But so many things that this is so inspirational to me, because I love the high jangle, and so
Wow.
this is actually where a lot of it started.
Okay.
It's usually a riff that he comes up with, and then he starts to work on something, and then I'll be in the other room, like making cookies or bread, and I'll be like, "Hey, I want that.
I
want to write to it." And then he'll give me like a section, and maybe I'll start, working on something like architecture, for instance. He was working on it in here, and I was like puttering around the house, and I said, "I think I hear a chorus for that." He's like, "Oh, cool." So.
Yeah.
That's another example of something. Architecture, it was based all on that opening finger-picked riff.
Right.
And when I do them, I just kind of stack the next block on the end and just see how it goes. We wind up doing a lot of editing, because I want to be able to have something that's not so linear, but will draw a conclusion. I think Close to the Edge may still be the high mark of how how a great prog song is put together.
I wouldn't disagree with that. No.
And so many themes are recurring throughout that, but they're twisted and they're changed and
Elaborated upon. Yeah, it's so great.
Do you, so this may be a key difference to how I build my compositions and how you might build yours. I am used to notation and imagining the sounds and charting them all out and then relying on other people to play them. Are you notating this or just building it in a digital audio workstation?
She says.
That sounds expensive.
Yes, it is expensive. That's why I don't have very many recordings of my own stuff.
So I heard
many
her
other
joke.
people have to do them.
What was your question though? I'm sorry.
Let me see. What was my question?
You do it in notes and write it down and ask other people.
Do you notate it first, or do you just build the sounds in your digital audio workstation?
No, I just kind of go with the flow.
Okay.
I'm pretty good with theory, but I read like crap. I'm terrible at it.
Okay.
I also don't have a lot of traditional training, most. I've got a really good ear, so most of my education has been through self-discovery and just chasing down the things by the people that I love. I'm really hoping, and it's still a mystery to me. I was actually looking forward to talking to you about this, and maybe you can enlighten me. Is more polychord compositions. There's John Williams is a master at it. He, particularly the Star Wars stuff, he can blend things together, which is these chord upon chord stuff. And the reason why I bring it up is when you're just dealing with sort of base level pop writing, right? So it's just 1 6 minor 4 5, or you're just dealing with the which we call ice cream chords. You're just those kind of changes, like you made a comment during Close to the Edge where you love going to the 4 minor because
yes,
the 4 minor is always just a lilting, heart chugging is not the word that I was looking for.
It works though.
Tugging upon one's heartstrings is what it does, and so I always thought that was when you're just dealing at kind of a base level, 12 notes, majors and minors, those you can grab that vocabulary very quickly. But to have all those options and then to have another layer of all those options on top of it against it, and then you have that new learning of what lilts and what's jarring and what's scary and what's and that whole emotional context and of changes. And so but it's out of my reach right now. Usually I'm just throwing noodles at the wall and see if they stick.
It's tricky. Bitonality and polychords are related, but they're two slightly different things. I mean, you can write a piece in multiple keys at the same time. I actually recently did a behind the score where I did a score analysis for our Patreon, and I was looking at Holst, the planets, and we were doing the Wing and Messenger movement 3, and that piece, it's a B flat major triad to an E major triad on the way back down, bitonal. He's got the first
tritonal, man.
Yeah, he's got the first violins in one key signature and the second violin section in a different key signature. So he's really thinking in two different keys at once. And the trick is what jazz does is it takes everything and it kind of smushes it together. So if you've got like a jazz chord and then a chord and a chord, and they're close enough together that you can almost link them as an extended chord, then you don't have bitonality. So
one of the very first things that that's the 5, your flat 5 over 1.
Yeah.
But then my most fun thing that I just discovered was E, right? and he does an E flat 7,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
E flat over the E,
Yeah.
which with your flat 2 in there.
Yeah. You want to go, when you're doing bitonality stuff like that, you want to go to key areas that are quite different in the notes that they have in their collections. Because
But
if
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm absolutely positive that John Williams, like I know that a 4 minor chord is lilting, John Williams knows that putting an E flat 7 against that E bass is going to be mysterious and yet strong,
yeah,
which it is. So
it's
by instinct, he knows it by rote.
I think that's true, but John's also one. I'm a big fan of John. A lot of over the years, classical musicians have said, "Ooh, John Williams, movie music. I want a real composer." I'm like, he is a real composer.
He is a real
really
composer.
is.
You can
Come
also,
on, it's amazing. His technique is off the charts.
well, his arranging
Yeah.
is just stupid.
But
I mean,
it's
the first-
secondary. It's all of the stuff that prog does. So like to circle back to what we were talking about with with classical and prog being kind of similar outgrowths of musical expression, one just in an orchestra or a chamber ensemble, or one in an amplified rock ensemble. You know, Firth of Fifth from Genesis could be symphonic.
Absolutely. Well, it is, I think.
It is, just with electrified instruments,
That's why I was bringing up Circe's layering of background vocals. Is that I approach them arrangement wise much more like strings and horns.
Right, I get to be an instrument.
Oohs are woodwinds and ahs are brass, and and those counterpoint things that go on. I'm just a monster Queen fan, and particularly album 2 through album 6. It's just get it,
And also those background parts when we're doing them. If you heard them one at a time, you'd think it was ridiculous and that we were just really splitting hairs, but it all the way down to the way the mouth closes, all the way to the way the breath comes out. Is it like a bell? Does it peel? Does it open? Does it have a peak? Does it fade off? I mean, we get into it, and then because of that, stacked and stacked and stacked, it becomes that instrument. There's just a quality to it, and it's delightful to have. As a singer, it's so great to have somebody just say, do this, here you go, next, okay, next. I love to be produced like that. I'm totally spoiled. I've worked with other producers who are like, hey, just make it up, or maybe do that. And I'm like, no, tell me what to do.
Tell me what to do.
I want to know so I can achieve, that beautiful sound that glassy or strong horn sound that we're going for. It's just it's really quite extraordinary to be on the other end of the microphone and have someone do that.
And then you get to add lyrics to it. So not only do you have a horn part, but it has lyrics. How many horn players can sing lyrics, right?
Not many, not at the same time.
You go wah wah wah, but that doesn't really count, does it?
No, not really. I'm curious. I want to know. I apologize for asking, but everything on the album was written and performed by the two of you, with the exception of some playing from Michael Sherwood, who sadly passed away in November of 2019. You write glowingly about him. Do you mind telling me about your relationship a little bit, and maybe some memories of Michael and his playing?
I met Michael 93 or 94, and we just became fast friends. Again, my theory is good, and because of that, I recognized what was going on, and he recognized that I recognized it and saw some of the other stuff that I was doing. Also, he loved guitar players because he was a keyboard player, and so we were very simpatico in that way. And I had a recording studio at the time, a more proper 2-inch reel and a room and the glass and the whole thing, and we did several songs almost immediately upon meeting each other. And uh, over that time, between 93 onward, we just did so many things. He was actually working out of a commercial jingle house, not jingle, but making commercial music.
Okay.
And I was his first call guitar player for 3 or 4 years running until the whole industry changed.
Yeah.
And and it I miss him dearly. We both
Yeah.
do. I mean, she made a whole record with him as well.
Yeah,
That's
jazz music.
that's
It's
sort of
all, like,
sitting in the vaults right
serious
now,
jazz.
needing to be mixed.
So great.
And we just made so many songs, so many. We released a record together, Groovy Lemon Pie, and that was sort of our
I'll send it to you.
yeah.
Cool.
We'll get it to you. He was also an amazing singer and
Incredible
a
lyricist.
stellar lyricist.
Yeah. Well,
And
he's got the organ solo on the last track. Is that right?
Yeah, well, that is so. How that happened is so typically Michael.
Hmm.
We're together 21 years now, and at 17 years, we decided to get married. And we had it here in our apartment, just a little get together.
Yeah.
We had a 17-second ceremony, 1 second for
1
every
second
year.
for every year, and a
That's
taco.
cool.
And
for
everybody else
catering.
now hit the taco truck. And Michael wrote a song for us to be played, and he sat down at our piano in the front room and played it and sang it, and that was lovely. And then and he was in typical Michael form, he was the last guy to leave, and which is absolutely fine, you know. And as the wedding party sort of started to thin out, we came in here into the studio. And I said, "Hey man, let me just show you a couple of things." And I showed him, which wasn't even the way that song was built at that
so
time.
different.
That section was there, and I think the couple of surrounding things.
Okay.
But where that song wound up being there, it was glued. Other sections were glued together and worked a lot better. But I said, I have this part, this thing. Will you blow a solo on it? And so he sat right here, and I kind of paced around the room and produced him, and that's the solo you hear.
That's cool. Was it just riffed in real time, or did you take a few shots at it, or?
Likes composing. He likes composing, but he can shoot from the hip very well. So it's
A little bit of both, I would say, and a few
Yeah.
passages, and then we can pick and choose what we like and kind of couple together.
and unfortunately, that was the last time I ever saw him.
Wow.
Yeah.
He
Went out.
died about a month later,
No,
2
no.
months later.
Well, what did you say? It was November of
November of 19,
right?
2019. Yeah, he passed away at the beginning,
Right.
early November of 19.
That was October, and he died in November. Yeah.
Oh,
Or
darn.
yeah.
Yeah.
Early October. Like, so only like 6 or 8 weeks later, he was gone. And I miss him terribly. I mean, his musical prowess cannot be understated. And his contribution to my life, to our life,
Yeah. And
also
to so many musicians. He was incredibly generous with his enthusiasm and his time. When I first came on the scene, I had written like 3 songs. Literally, when I met Christian, I had 3 songs. Like, "Hey, I'm gonna write a song. You want to play?"
Yeah.
These guys weren't like, whatever, kid. They were like, yeah, check it out. What do you got?
What do you
Bring
got?
it. Cool.
Yeah.
I never once got any sort of condescending vibe. Just was open and love, and
That's cool.
he was like that with everybody.
The day he
Every
died, we went
musician.
over to Julius Robinson, who was a lyricist that he worked with quite often. We went over to Julius's house, and Danny Peck. Are you familiar with Danny Peck?
I don't think so.
Danny Peck was also somebody that Michael worked with extensively, mostly live.
Okay.
And as I was coming in the door, I walked right into Danny Peck, and I just looked at him and I said, you know, I think I know how Paul felt that day in 1980. and Danny said, yeah, there's about a dozen or so of us that all feel like that about Michael because he was so generous.
Yeah.
He worked so extensively and so givingly with so many people. So yes, Michael Sherwood is the shit.
Thank you for telling me a little bit about him.
Great for asking.
With Cosmologica, is it a concept album? What are y'all addressing and saying in this project?
Well, I think that the metaphors of being stuck inside and the outside world being on the other side of the glass for me was so, it made me feel like an alien in my own world.
It was
I couldn't,
coincidental and circumstantial, but it was
Yeah.
but it was fodder for the lyrics. you know.
absolutely not being able to go outside without thinking that maybe what I'm going to breathe is going to kill me just was so obviously
Yeah.
found. Also, yes, has Starship Troopers. I'm a huge Heinlein fan.
Okay.
So Assignment in Eternity is a Heinlein book as well. And so that's lyrics are kind of based on that short story.
Okay.
But it's really about the convergence of the interior and the cosmic connection that we have and going through the other side and looking in on oneself as well and thinking about technology and how it affects us as humans. How are we growing? How are we atrophying?
Yeah.
How are we expressing ourselves? Is it a tool? Is it the end of the world? Is it a dagger? What's it going to be? This moment in time, and also the alienation that we can feel because of this distance, and the struggle to try and get close to people again. Satellite kind of is about chasing somebody around and wanting to be close to somebody, and I can't be close to you. I couldn't even go see my mom. A lot of people couldn't go see their loved ones.
I'm a choir rat. Most of my compositions that are published are choral compositions. I love choir music, and I've led choirs, and you can imagine the trauma
Yeah.
to choirs. It's like, we don't want to kill poor Mary in the alto section by, it took a long time for people, and many people haven't gotten quite back yet mentally to where they can fully relax and just be around their friends.
Yeah.
and make music together. It's been a really strange few
Yeah.
years.
Well, we were going to have a little get together yesterday, and one of our guests, their daughter, caught COVID and couldn't come over, and so that just kind of,
it's still here.
It's still chasing us around.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, so as a concept record, probably not, but those ideas kind of touch upon each song. I also read a lot. I'm an avid reader, so you'll find
100 books a year she
lots
reads.
of
More than me, for
to
sure.
different authors and different ideas like Philip K. Dick, as well as Heinlein, as well as Virginia Woolf. Just getting that interiority of mind into a lyric. And I'll say that prog music allows that to happen. I mean, I love country music and I love what we did before, but there is a boundary and a limit to me that feels inappropriate to
Well,
talk
it's a sensibility. You want to honor the sensibility of that
Sure.
that particular
You can
genre.
write cowboy space music, and some people do, but for me, I love the fact that with prog, with the expansion of just being able to go anywhere, I could take these larger existential concepts and just kind of play with them. It's
And
great.
I think it lends to the art form, and it connects back to classical too. Both of these genres, for lack of a better word, lend themselves quite well to complex storytelling
Yep.
and complex narratives. It allows you sections upon sections and things that are embedded and things that relate back to themselves. You can reprise things even if they're very short. It's and then in the end, I think narrative is where we take in these ideas the most naturally, is in storytelling. So,
Well, I mean, at that point, at the point of the height of classical music, doing one piece that's an hour long is every day, happens every day.
Yeah.
And as time goes on, here we hit the 20th century, and songs are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and here we are even 120 years later than that. And our one of our biggest forms of expression is TikTok and 30 seconds long, and that's what
You know what's funny? this is something I've noticed. We either have very, very short attention spans, or we were like, "I'll give you 4 hours. What do you got?"
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and I also think that the proliferation of recorded music in the 20th century is primarily what drove the stylistic form, so that you could fit your piece onto a piece of vinyl.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
and so you could fit your piece into the A&R man's pocket.
Also
Yeah.
true.
Or
Yeah.
on the radio, or whatever the formats may be. Again,
Yeah.
another reason why prog, I think, may be difficult for some people is because the commitment, and again, unbelievable that so many people have contacted us that have literally listened to the whole thing, like from top to bottom in one sitting, because it has that flow to it, just like Close to the Edge or any of the other great prog records.
And it's also, why 1960 to 1980 is the absolute pinnacle of our
Yeah.
musical expression,
Mhm.
Yeah.
of our musical creation. We have not beaten it yet. As a matter of fact, I feel like in many ways we've devolved since then. There's
I think
great,
it ebbs and flows. I think it,
well, I mean,
generationally. Yeah.
but there's what you don't get is the power of a label that will give you 3 or 4 albums
Yeah.
to figure it out.
Sure.
Just that, which was not uncommon
Yeah.
at that time in 1966. It was people watching the Beatles do what they do, and they knew they were sitting there and experimenting. So this guy's got talent. Let's see what he can do for a little while, or these guys, or these people. And but as soon as it became pop music, popular music, got to make the money, and make the money more importantly. Also,
It becomes a commodity instead of art.
that's right.
Right.
And you get the brokers
Mhm.
not knowing anything about the thing that they're brokering.
Well, this leads me. I wanted to ask you. I noticed your piece on Bandcamp. Do you know any of the recent corporate changes that are going on
I'm curious because I noticed,
with
funny
that?
enough, I noticed a couple of my plugins on the website are now starting to break and things are strange over there. So I don't know. I need to do a little research and
I
find
was
out.
going to ask you because it's a little bit over my head. I know that the corporate leadership has shifted, and so I don't know what the future of Bandcamp is going to be. There are people on my Discord that are quite leery going forward and making backups of their stuff, and they're not sure what's going to happen.
Interesting. Well, I've always used it as essentially a direct to fan sales tool, because I didn't like CD Baby's code. They had some players. I do a little bit of, I do all the admin for our project. So
Okay.
whether it's building the websites or paying the band members or whatnot. So knowing a little bit of code and popping a player onto your website is important. So Bandcamps were just prettier and easier to use at the
So,
time. But
we'll
I
see.
need
There's one more thing though that I want to talk about.
Only one?
One major thing while I have y'all here. Dolenz sings Nesmith. I yeah, I remember watching the reruns of the original of the Monkees when I was a kid, and Mickey was always my favorite. I loved Mickey.
He's the
He's
best.
just
So
wonderful.
talk about working with Micky Dolenz singing songs written by your father, Michael, and you served as producer on.
I produced it. I engineered it. I also played almost every instrument on it.
Arranged it, came up with the concepts for the re-envisioning of the song.
I just want to hear stories. If you have a favorite, or if one of them was your dad's favorite, if how Mickey is doing here in the later part of his life. What do you got?
Fantastically, it was that's a long topic to talk about, but I lived with these songs since birth, quite literally, many of them, and the trick was that we did not want to make what the label and Mickey were calling a karaoke record.
Right.
Okay.
We did not want to just strip Mickey's vocals or Nez's vocals off of his own songs, just drop Mickey in. So the greatest part of that record is the reimagining of the songs. Trying to figure out, okay, so if this one is swung, can I put it in a straight beat? If that one's in 3/4, can I put it in 4/4?
Sure.
And looking for new instrumentations and new grooves. One of the few actual songs that was in the Monkees was "Circle Sky." And I don't know if you know the song, but it's almost entirely a one chord song. And I was just having, which makes complete sense because my father, who we affectionately call Nez, one of his greatest heroes was Bo Diddley.
Okay.
So to sit there and just chomp away and eat, and just that's the whole damn song.
Yep.
Can you groove that? Can you make that important? And I was just agonizing over it. I just could not find my way into that song. And then Circe walks in and says,
Make it a raga.
why don't you make it a raga, man?
We love huge fans of Indian classical music.
For sure.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. It to me, like spiritually, every time I just, it does something to me.
There are
Profound.
few styles of music that move me
Yeah.
more deeply. Also, Middle Eastern music. I mean, when it's in in the throes of what it really does, deep Syrian and Iraqi ancient music, it's just like forget it. Anyway, that made perfect sense because, of course, it's a one chord song for the most. So what is a raga? You got a drone, you set it up,
Drone.
you go, and then I did
Well, wait, if I just continue on Circle Sky, there's also a little bit of historical connection there because if you ever watch the Monterey Pop Festival and you see Ravi Shankar
that is a full circle.
kicking ass, it's truly one of the most amazing performances of all time.
You've seen the movie, yes?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, at the end when the audience jumps up,
Who's the first person you see?
is Micky Dolenz.
There it is.
Right. So it's
There
funny.
it is.
It's funny, yes, that right at the come to the end, and he's like, and then everybody goes crazy
What
for
an
the next 10
incredible
minutes.
moment in time.
If you're looking for funny anecdotes or interesting anecdotes or with of working with Micky, I won't be able to give you very many, only because Micky likes to stay out of the process.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like, man, I'm just going to show up. Send me a demo so I can sing along with it a little bit before I come, and then we'll do it. And he like Circe, like me actually, when I was doing my session work as well, loved to be produced.
Yeah.
Just tell me what
Sure.
to do. I can give you anything you want, and I don't take it personally if I'm not giving it to you yet. We'll find it. And Micky's very much like that. As a matter of fact, he said just recently that he compared our relationship to Sinatra and Riddle.
Wow, I didn't know that.
You didn't hear him say that at dinner the other night?
No.
Yeah, well, that's yeah. So he just wants to be the Frank Sinatra and have somebody else be the Nelson Riddle.
Love it.
So that whole album was very much like that. But we recorded 17 songs total, and it was a lot of work, a long time to get done. And we were fortunate to be able to. I had Jim Cox come in and do some piano and keyboard work, and Christopher Alice play live drums because that was very important.
That was released relatively recently, right? A couple years ago.
No, so it was released before Nez died, and so he had a chance to see it, to hear it. But interestingly enough, what's coming out right now, which I also produced, is the EP Dolenz Sings R.E.M.
Well,
Yeah, and that's just hitting right now.
4 songs?
that's I'm interested in that.
It's 4 songs. It's 4 songs, and the R.E.M. guys have all heard it and have flipped out over
Oh,
it. They
they've said
love
such
it.
lovely things about it.
What are the songs?
We did oh God, now
Shiny Happy People.
Shiny Happy People, which is the
Automatic
title of the EP, and that was kind of the impetus of doing the whole thing.
And apparently was one of the reasons why R.E.M. wrote that song is because of their love of the Monkees.
Yeah.
So there's that connection there.
So there's that, and then there's Radio Free Europe.
Okay.
Leaving,
Losing my religion.
No,
No?
that was a little too obvious. I didn't want to go for the super hit, you know.
Sure.
I wanted to do something a little more off the beaten track. What's the one from the movie?
Man on the Moon,
Man on the Moon.
which is such a cool song.
And
Yeah, it is.
I sang on one.
and then Leaving New York.
Leaving New York.
Okay.
Yeah. And
That
again,
sounds awesome, by the way.
it was fun. I actually, you know, my roots really are 70s blues based hard rock.
Okay.
I'm Zeppelin and Aerosmith and Rush and Van Halen, and you know that's where
And you can go see any of those things on TikTok because he's doing all these crazy days. He's doing like a whole year of
Oh wait,
TikTok.
well, okay, off the beat.
Oh, sorry.
Hello,
Okay,
Miss
go ahead.
Hello,
Non sequitur.
welcome to tangential land. And wait, I was saying that.
You were saying that you're a rocker.
I was saying that I'm a kind of a guitar rocker at heart. That's where I cut my teeth, and I really wasn't about REM when they were doing their thing. They just
Sure.
kind of weren't my bag. And then so when I got handed this project and I started digging in, and I absolutely gained a newfound respect after looking under the hood of some of the stuff that they were writing. It's like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. Particularly Stipe, I think he's absolutely saying a lot of cool stuff.
He does.
And then the other thing,
Well, and that's why I bring it up. I'm sorry. It's
That's
just
okay.
that he is like a human jukebox, and so he can
Okay.
play so many songs, and he's such a tone whore that it's. I will stop now, but I didn't want you to pass over that because talking about being a rocker, some
Yeah.
people don't know that.
well,
about
I
you.
mean, I think the reason why she's bringing it up, and I don't know if it's germane to our conversation, but I had been enjoying TikTok as a lurker for several months.
Okay.
Just kind of swiping and scrolling, and one of the gals I saw in there, she's a guitar player. She's really into like the '90s sort of grunge, Smashing Pumpkins, Alice in Chains sort of
Sure.
bag thing. And she was just, pretty good player. And doesn't hurt that she's also really good looking. And she did. She put up a video and she said, "I have for the last year made the commitment to put up a video pretty much almost every day. And because of that, I now just got picked up by a band that's signed and I'm going on tour."
That's cool.
Yeah,
Groovy.
which is, I mean, that's not necessarily my goal, but it did tip that first domino of like, I know what I can do on TikTok. And so what I've decided to do and am doing, and today was day 46, is doing 365 great rock riffs and solos in 365 days.
It's way cool.
That might make me take the plunge and finally get on TikTok.
It's fun. I mean,
I'm
it's
not on
fun.
TikTok yet. I'm on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, but maybe I'll get over there to see you play some riffs.
TikTok is an interesting platform because their algorithms are so strong that you can really hone what you want
Yeah.
to see just by how fast you swipe. It's like, no, don't like that. Ooh,
Yeah.
let's stay and watch
It
that
took
for
me
a
about
second.
4 days. It's to get any yelling or any news or anything that I don't like out of my feed. But
Sure.
really about 4 days, and now all I get is the stuff that I actually like. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
So I'm doing that. So if your listeners or watchers or bloggers
I-
Watch Christian play some riffs over there.
come over and check out my check out that.
I have a question for you, Doug.
Yeah, sure.
Have you ever heard of the Harvard lectures that Leonard Bernstein gave?
Yes.
I'm so curious to know what you think of those because we have the DVDs. I've only ever been able to watch like 2 of the lectures because it gets
Well, you have
so
to
far over my
watch them
head.
with a pause button and a dictionary. You know,
Yeah.
to, I mean,
Well,
And a keyboard so you can go.
my doctorate is in music theory and compositions. All 3 of my degrees are in theory and comp. So hearing Bernstein talk my language,
Ah,
I was like a kid in a candy store. And I've used portions of it where he describes in very wonderful details and flair, like the circle of fifths and basic concepts. He was as he was good at anything he tried, which you know, there's people that just are have the ability to do that. You want me to write a big musical? Sure. Here's West Side Story. You want me to? You know, I honestly think he was one of the best musicians of the 20th century.
easily.
Easily.
Um, and his contribution, you know, there's probably people as talented that nobody ever heard of, but the fact that he was able to give so much, and his programs for kids
his
that he
programs for
did,
kids.
you know,
Yeah.
it was just so
Well,
amazing.
the
The
reason
young
why
people's concerts, yeah, they're all great.
the reason why I bring it up is because of the usage of Chomsky's analytical breakdown of language structure
Sure.
and using it with classical music, I think is another reason why.
Or just music in general.
Sure,
you know.
but with Prague, again, you listen to like Close to the Edge, and it's so conversational. There are sentences. There is this context, this deep structured context that gets to evolve and tell your narrative, right? That we don't get in other forms of music. So, yeah, I'm so cool. I'm so glad that you think that's cool because
Yeah.
I'm so curious what you had thought of that.
I mean, I tried to do quite a bit of that with Cosmologica, but you know, I feel just so ham-fisted and clumsy at it sometimes. I think the record came out good, but I know that there are layers of things that due to my lack of education, I'm missing all over the place.
It's the human element.
Yeah.
That's what draws us to other people's music. It's what can I learn? Ooh, I don't know that. That's cool. What did he do there? Or yeah, I've heard that all so many times. That's great that what he did there. There's lots of things that we can learn, and I've learned so much from going through all of this prog music. Because what happened to me, I wasn't I didn't grow up in a musically active family. We were a sports family. I was, you know, I was a sports baller all through my my young days. And
Sport.
well, I was a pitcher. I was going to go to college until I hurt my shoulder pitching. I'm 6'4". I was 6'4" as a freshman in high school.
Wow.
And you know, I played basketball, and my letter jacket has baseball and music on it. But
Cool.
I blew out my knee playing basketball, and I blew out my shoulder pitching, and I went to music as a non-contact sport, and at least most of the time.
You haven't been to my clubs, man.
But when I decided, and I got the bug, and I wanted to go into, and I got the bug really to go into choral music. I just loved it, and when I decided to do music as my degree program in college, I started having to be responsible for knowing all of this repertoire, and not just knowing the names, but knowing the music.
Yeah.
And so for decades, practically, most of my time, if not all of it, was spent in classical music, listening. And so I knew of Yes, and I knew of Rush, and I knew of all of these bands, Genesis back in the day, and all this sort of stuff. Like the Genesis I know is like, oh, the Land of Confusion, and the Genesis fans are like, no.
No.
Yeah, they did that song, but no. And
So have you gone down the Gentle Giant rabbit hole?
yeah, I've listened to all of Freehand and several other smatterings of stuff from them, more on my Patreon than on YouTube, but those guys are incredible.
Really pushing the envelope, man.
Talk about classical musicians on electrified instruments.
And if you've ever seen any live performances, they all are switching instruments
That's
all
so
the
cool.
time.
It's
You know,
crazy. I mean, I've got the King Crimson down here.
you go. Nice
Good
it is.
one.
He's looking at me, making sure that I stay on target here.
Well, my question is that, I'm assuming you're about our age, or one way or the other. So
I'm 46.
46. Okay, my prime time was in the 70s. So your prime time was in the 80s.
Sure.
You're even further removed. How does one get exposed to classical music, or even chase that down when all around us is 1984?
Mhm. When I graduated high school in 95. And so all through my high school, it was the grunge years, and I wasn't interested at all. I didn't like the sounds. I was going like singer-songwriter, like Jackson Brown and James Taylor and Carole King, a lot of the classic, lighter melodic things. And then I got into choral music, and then when I got into college, it was you're in the library, you're listening, or my radio never left the classical station. So people ask me, how did you never hear this song? It was all over the radio. I'm like, it wasn't on my radio.
Yeah, there you go. Well, yeah.
And so, yeah, Close to the Edge. That was really the first time that I had heard the whole thing
Yeah.
from front and really listening. And with a lot of the others, that's how that happens. It's been an eye-opening experience, because I used to not give much credibility to the harder edged, like metal stuff. And the more that I get into the personalities and the lyrics and the just what they're doing to create these sounds,
Yeah.
it's just as valid. And
Well,
sometimes you need intense sounds to deal with intense feelings.
it's just another texture to play with. I mean, have you started considering maybe cross
Yeah, has it
pollinating
changed your
orchestral and
composing?
rock in some of your future compositions?
I am, as I have time, I am attempting to write a prog song, and really what's happening is I'm notating it exactly the way that I would notate like a chamber orchestra, except it's keyboards, it's synth patch, it's acoustic guitar, it's lead guitar, and I haven't figured out how I'm going to write the drums yet.
I'm not sure which notes are which, but you just choose a note, I believe, and that's the kick, and then
Yeah,
make, yeah,
yeah.
make
But
D kick, and make
but
uh,
I'm a composer who was taught to write everything by hand, and now I use the computer as like virtual manuscript paper.
what
Uh,
program you use.
I use Sibelius, and I when I started out, I first started out with Finale, and then I switched, and I haven't looked back for probably 15 years plus. But digital audio workstations, I have virtually no skills in.
Well,
Uh,
one of the, if I may make a suggestion, one of the prime DAWs that for composers like that is Digital Performer,
right, that one
because
I've heard of.
yeah, because it is the most accommodating, particularly if like you're scoring to picture, because it can handle both of those, and it'll handle do the SMPTE code, and it'll line everything up, but it also has a very robust staff that you can play with, and the MIDI notes to staff will translate very, very well. And
That's helpful. That's
yeah,
helpful. So yeah, stay tuned. Maybe I'll have a prog song at some
good.
point.
Yeah.
It's been hard though, because I spend so much of my energy doing the Daily Doug that for work-life balance, I'm like, stay away, because when I get into writing, you know how it goes. You get like OCD, and I can't finish until I get this out of my head, and I'm trying. I'll get there.
Very good.
I'll get there.
We were just working on our
On a new record?
brand new prog
Yeah.
record today. It's coming.
Awesome.
Uh,
Awesome. Well, let's keep chatting. If I ever get out to
another
Southern
hour.
California, um, I will look you up. If y'all are out here, I would love to chat more, and maybe we can keep chatting. But Cosmologica, I really did enjoy the album, and it's available on your Bandcamp. Is it available any other places, or is that where people need to go?
That's a good question. Where is it available now? Yeah, Bandcamp
Bandcamp's the
primarily
best
is
place.
what
Best
I'm
place.
using, and but people can always just reach out to me if they want to just write me a check and they don't want to go through the man.
That's right.
We can do it
That
that way
works as
too.
well.
I think it's
That works as well.
You can find her anything at circelink.com. It'll probably show up.
yeah, info@circelink.com.
Info.
There you go.
That's fine.
Wonderful.
But thank you for having us. We love your community, and it's just so lovely to see people that really want to listen and talk and exchange ideas and love about things that make us happier in this world, that make us good
Yeah.
people. That we can go out and share the love in whatever way that we want to do it.
Thank
Music,
you.
music allows us all to do that. So thanks for giving people a place to do that together.
And maybe maybe
my
when
pleasure.
the new one comes out, you'll save your listening experience and do a reaction.
Yeah.
I can do that. I
Yeah.
can do that. That'll be fun. And yeah, I will say the community that's come along with my channel has been an unexpected, just lovely thing. We have people from most continents around the world that tune in and chat with each other, and we're just all about learning new stuff, and it makes me just have renewed
Faith in man.
good feelings about humanity. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's you can find corners of the prog community that become very precious and very stodgy in their thinking.
Oh, that's
and
an all fan group.
and the fact that that yours is open and really bringing it in from and appreciating
Inclusive,
all of it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
That's wonderful. Thank you all for joining me. It was great to talk to you for the first time and to get to know you a little bit. And I'm sure we'll chat again soon.
Sorry, it wasn't
Sounds
a
really
linear
good.
interview, but that's us.
This is fun. I loved it. I loved it. Great. Thanks y'all for being with me. I appreciate
Bye,
it.
man.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
All right. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.